All right. Please be seated. Okay. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming to the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program Teacher Certification course. And all of you that are here for a class or for a teacher certification course, whatever the case, you're getting the certification course today. So we are in the Building Moral Excellence character unit. I've got the teacher's manual right here. Some of you might have the student's book. Some have the teacher's manual. In this case, for anybody that's online, you should be looking right at it, right at the top of the screen before you scroll down. You should see a drop-down type menu where you can go ahead and download the book and have it available to you also to follow along. You could even download it and print it, you know. And I'll be taking a drink of that stuff there a couple times tonight, I'm sure. All right, so just a quick announcement here, too. I've already mentioned the pictures, but also the next class is going to be on 2/19/25. That's this coming Wednesday at 5:30 p.m., 2/19/25. And we look forward to seeing you then also, okay? Now, the last class we covered basically page 171, what I have learned. We finished up with that, going back over the chapter that we just went through, and then we've moved on now to the next chapter. Now, along the way, in the few pages after what I've learned, you can test your knowledge, and there's also another activity there, scenario, and you can answer the questions there and do a post-assessment, answer those questions, truthfully, and you can see for yourself kind of how you're doing, how you're coming along. Excuse me. All right, if you would, let's go ahead and turn over to page, it's actually Lesson Plan 5, page A. It's the Note to the Teacher. Note to the Teacher, Lesson Plan 5, page A. And now the Peaceful Solution, you should know by now, if you've been with us for any length of time, the Peaceful Solution does have a lesson plan that guides us step by step throughout the chapter. And we have that in every book, by the way. So you don't have to be experienced as far as you don't have to write your own lesson plans and so forth. You just follow along. You of course review before the class and become familiar with it, and hopefully everyone's getting very familiar with the Peaceful Solution program. I mean, the more you go through it, the more you teach it, the more you read it, the more stuff you remember, and kind of where it's at. I know I've told you guys lots of times, someone could ask me, hey, what page is, this and that on? I'm like, well, for the most part, I don't know the exact page number, but I know where it's at in the book and what book it's in, so, I could point it out to you there, so. And so the main thing is to learn what the Peaceful Solution is and to put it to work in your life. It's not about having a photographic memory. You'll know as you practice these things, it becomes part of you, and you'll know how to answer questions. You'll know how to take people to where the information is that they're looking for, and you'll be learning. You'll be becoming a teacher. Okay. Remember, in everything that we do, we're teaching. Our actions are teaching. People watch us. They watch you, and so. We need to be the example, the right example. All right, so we're going to be starting at the top of Lesson Plan 5, page A, and it's Chapter 5, Character, Society, and the World. And this is a note to the teacher. For better or worse, we live in a world where our interdependence can either strengthen or destroy us. We become aware of just how interdependent we are when devastating incidents caused by one person's poor choice affect our community. That you're not independent, it's interdependent. So we're all dependent upon one another as a community, and what occurs with someone in the community has this, well, let me continue on here. We'll get to that part. So, we become aware of just how interdependent we are when devastating incidents caused by one person's poor choice affect our community. At those times, we are painfully reminded that character really does count. Now, many people, they go through their daily lives not truly comprehending how much they rely on others to value life and interact with respect and compassion. They rely on them. We rely on others. Kind of like when you're driving down the road. There might be, if you're on a busy freeway, there might be 1,000 cars around you, 300 or 400 or 500, whatever, and you're relying on them to have some type of smarts about them when it comes to operating an automobile, right? And it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be a busy freeway. It can be just something as simple as going into town and pulling up at a stop sign, and you expect that others know what they're doing, what they're supposed to do when they get to that stop sign, how they're supposed to operate, that they're supposed to wait on this other person, or it's their turn to go, or what have you, right? We count on others to have a little bit of knowledge on those things. Well, it's the same thing with what we expect out of people on a daily basis around us. We kind of expect that for the most part, people aren't going to be walking around here like right now in this auditorium. I'm expecting that most people come in, they've probably got a book and something to write with and everything. They sit down and we begin. I'm not expecting that there's going to be people pulling out knives and walking around cutting people or something crazy like that. I'm not expecting that someone's going to be throwing a fit here and screaming and all because they didn't like what I said or anything like that. We kind of expect others to conduct themselves in a manner that's acceptable, right? And with the peaceful solution, even though people can come together and for the most part conduct themselves, where everyone feels okay about it, it's not necessarily the right way. We want to always conduct ourselves where we're keeping in mind that we don't ever want to do any harm to ourselves, anybody else, or the property or the environment, ever, And that includes future things, too. We want to be aware of our daily actions and knowing as we go through this, and there'll be a lot of talk about this in this particular chapter, but what we do today has an effect on everybody in here tomorrow. Will it be an effect that you know right away? No, it might not be. Could it be something that took place and you didn't even know, and 2 weeks from now you find out about it? Sure, it could be. 2 years, 2 months, whatever. Absolutely. So everything we do has an effect on everybody else around us, whether it's a very small effect or whether it's a huge effect, okay? Let me continue on. Many people go through their daily lives not truly comprehending how much they rely on others to value life and interact with respect and compassion. Our choices, whether moral or immoral, have the potential to reverberate or ripple outward, affecting many others. And there's a great chapter that you can go to. Well, just about all the books talk about the ripple effect a little bit, In fact, we do have a section in this chapter that's devoted to talking about the ripple effect, a positive ripple effect. I'm not going to get into that right now. Not real heavy. Anyway, we've got to understand, or most people go through life not knowing that potential to reverberate or ripple outward, affecting others. In fact, some choices can even affect future generations. Like we said, it could be way in the future. So this chapter, more than the previous four, takes character out of the classroom and personally into society and the entire world, okay? Students will be able to appreciate that character is not only the essential ingredient in personal choices and interactions, but also to the peace and the stability of the entire world. It's important to instill in the minds of our children the understanding that character education is more than just another class. Character is the foundation for all moral and appropriate interactions between all people. So let's get that again. It's important to instill in the minds of our children the understanding that character education is more than just a class. It's not some elective that you take in school. It's not just another class like, I got to go to English class, I got to go to character class, It goes way, way, way beyond this. This is something that's going to affect you all of your life. And, if it's the peaceful solution, it'll affect you positively. And again, character is the foundation for all moral and appropriate interactions between people. Other concepts that will be covered in this chapter are choices such as drinking and driving, as well as premarital sex can affect others. It's what, like we talked about before, that we have to put some type of a little bit of trust or thought that the people around us are going to be doing things in a certain manner. Like we expect that we can get out on the road and drive without getting run over by a drunk driver, But it does occur. People take off one day just for a simple trip, and they get run over by a drunk driver and killed, and lives destroyed, families destroyed, property destroyed, just by someone making a stupid decision. Our economic stability relies on the moral integrity of our business leaders. I'm sorry, I can't help but laugh a little bit at that. Let me see, I've got, and I'm going to include government leaders there, business and government leaders. Our economic stability relies on the moral integrity, right? And so how many of you have seen the news lately? Have you seen some of the things that are coming to light of the vast amounts of money that are just being channeled into people's pockets? And, if you never thought about it much, there are countries that get billions of dollars of aid from us. We're a rich country, right? But we're poor people in a rich country, or there's rich people in this rich country too, but yet everybody, even the poor people in the rich country, get their money taken and given to rich people in a poor country. Isn't that amazing? How some of the governmental leaders in some of these countries, they've got, condos and houses and property all over the world. They have, garages at their embassies that would make Jay Leno jealous with all the cars that they have. Rolls Royces, Porsches, Lamborghinis, and they just live a lavish lifestyle from the money that we dole out, that the United States government doles out to them, and it never even goes to their people. Their people don't even have running water or sewer or clean drinking water or anything, And it's terrible, the things that go on. It's not something new, though. It's been going on forever. And this is why we need the peaceful solution in this world. Everybody, you shouldn't have to have somebody policing you, looking over your shoulder for you to act right. If you have great moral character and you're a person of integrity, as we teach in the peaceful solution, then you will police yourself. You will discipline yourself, and you will be a great member of society that has a positive effect on everybody around you, instead of being one of those guys that lives that lavish lifestyle on everybody else and expects everyone to serve them. But like I said, this is nothing new. It's been going on a long time. I ran across an article recently, and I saw that this took place a little while ago. Let me see. It was really talking about, this is a little while ago. I'm sorry. This is basically some of the things we're hearing right now. Tell me if this sounds familiar. And this could have been said just last week, really. So this is somebody that's kind of protesting the things going on in government. They said the budget should be balanced. The treasury should be refilled. Public debt should be reduced, and the arrogance of this officialdom should be tempered and controlled, and the assistance to foreign lands should be curtailed unless we wind up in bankruptcy. You know? I mean, think about it. We hear about all the trillions and trillions of dollars and that we don't have a balanced budget and everything, but anyway, so people must again learn to work instead of living on public assistance. Now, this was not, yesterday. This was not government's or the Department of Government Efficiency or any of that stuff, right? In fact, this was a bit ago. So this was actually written by Cicero in 55 BC. So this stuff's been going on a long time, right? And it's because the people in this world, including us until we ran across it, we're not taught the peaceful solution. Yeah, we all grew up with a little bit of, well, you shouldn't do that, Johnny. You shouldn't do that there. Be nice to your friends. And, these people over here, don't call them names. And, you shouldn't steal. But yet, if that took place in people's lives, none of this stuff would have occurred, right? It wouldn't have occurred in 55 BC. It wouldn't have occurred in the year, 1100. It wouldn't have occurred in the 1900s. It wouldn't have occurred in 2025. But yet, the exact same thing was taking place. And this is why that people don't understand the importance of putting that, respect and compassion and care and concern and trust in others, and that everything that everybody does affects everybody else. So, anyway, getting back on this, so I was down at the second point, down at the bottom of Lesson Plan 5, page A. Excuse me. Our economic stability relies on the moral integrity of our business leaders and government leaders. I threw that part in there. Character traits that determine our interaction as individuals also play a role in how nations interact. A positive character can make a difference in our world. As role models and educators of our children, our future leaders and policymakers, it's up to us to help them see that let me turn the page, a safe and peaceful world can be achieved if we, as individuals and as a society, begin to develop and maintain positive character based on true moral values. So if we had a foundation of great positive moral character, if we had that foundation and everybody, just like right here in this auditorium, I know we're not all perfect and everything, but I know that those of you that I know in this auditorium are trying to get things right. You don't want to hurt anybody else. You might do it accidentally, you don't want to. I know you don't want to. I don't want to either. But yet we step on each other's toes from time to time. But see, that's part of it, is learning what to do in that situation too, and how to get along, and how to apologize, and how to try never to do something again, to set our mind in advance, right? All these things, they all apply. So this is the thing. If we, as a group of individuals and as a community, can raise our children up to do this same thing, what we're doing, learning peace and learning to teach peace, then our future leaders, will have a foundation of a great community being built, because there won't be any of the theft. There won't be any of the lavish living, the lavish lifestyles. There won't be anybody that doesn't have clean water to drink or clean food to eat. There won't be anybody that doesn't have any clothes to wear. There won't be anybody that doesn't have any type of proper sanitation and be taught how to take care of things, So anyway, these are some of the things we need to think about. We need to think about the whys of why we're doing what we're doing. I mentioned before, when I got into management, the only reason I did was because things were so bad for the salespeople. I thought I could make it better somehow. And, you know, there were some changes made and all, but along the way, I could see where people lose track of what's important and what's real. And so anyways, let's move on a little bit. Look on over to the next page, Lesson Plan 5, page C. Now, these are teacher tips. This is just something for you to be aware of when you're looking at the book, and when you're teaching a class, especially if you're in a classroom situation where you have some interaction and, you know, small group. Of course, you'll always want to carefully preview the lesson plan and the chapter in the handbook for, you know, in this case, Lesson 5. Look for the following icons for suggested teacher tips, and these suggestions can facilitate better use of class time and will result in more stimulating discussion and interaction. I tell you, in some of the smaller classes, it's really great to be able to talk to people and get feedback, and, you know, everyone's answering the questions, raising their hands and all. And sometimes, you know, sometimes people aren't quite understanding, and they have concerns. You know, it's not all a rose garden. You know, sometimes people want to kind of question what you're talking about, or they have a pre-built philosophy in their mind and pretty set in their ways about how things can be handled. You know, it's like everybody in here I know knows this, that you don't have to earn respect. You should get respect always. We should always give respect to everybody around us. No one has to earn it from us. You might earn trust. You might earn honor. You know, you might earn being placed on a pedestal in high regard and being a person of integrity, but you don't earn trust. You give trust always. I'm sorry. You don't earn respect. You do earn trust. You don't earn respect. You give respect always. Always. We respect others. And sometimes we accidentally disrespect them. But anyway, some people don't understand that. Some people, when you talk to them, they're like, yeah, right. Yeah, I'm not giving nobody respect until they respect me. You know, that's really how they think. And there's a lot of people out there that think that way. So you're going to run across that sometimes when you're teaching the peaceful solution. You're going to have people that kind of buck up against it, and it might take them a little bit of time to understand. You might need to spend some one-on-one with them to try to help them understand better too. And there might be some of those that never do. But if they're already here and learning the peaceful solution and taking part in class, then, you know, half that battle's won, or more than half anyway. Didn't mean to get off on that, but it is part of the teaching experience. All right, so if you look at the smiley face there on Lesson Plan 5, page C, it says written exercise can be assigned for homework. That's one of the little notes there, or the little pictures on there. If it's the little house, it says reading can be assigned for homework. You don't have to, but you can. And then the other ones there, this activity can be modified into an interactive session where students are divided into small groups and allowed to brainstorm and discuss ideas, or even create skits. That's always fun to do if you have enough people and kind of medium-sized group. And then scenarios can, well, this is the skits here. Scenarios can be dramatized for a more interactive activity. To ensure greater comprehension of the text, assign the following keywords for vocabulary, and definitions can be found in the glossary. So there's some keywords you can give out and have people look up and really get involved in it, and they can look at history and so forth, current events, which we try to add a little bit of that in there, even in this class, so you can be aware and get a picture of what's taking place in the world around us, of the negative and positive things, okay? Let's go on over to Lesson Plan 5, page E. That'll be the actual lesson plan for the teacher, or if you're, you know, teaching yourself, if you're reading the Peaceful Solution and hopefully you can attend the classes online or on your phone, on the computer, or in person, whichever. But we have a purpose and objective of every chapter. And in this case, students will learn that an individual's choices have the potential to affect many others. Students will also learn that traits of character are also applicable to nations. There's a list of suggested materials and a student's handbook, which, of course, we have the teacher's manual. Teacher's manual, audio lesson cassette. In this case, well, I thought I had it on the back here, but when you buy one of the books, when you purchase one of the books, it comes with a DVD on the back. It's taped to the back, and you can just take it off, and it has some songs and some narratives and so forth on there that you should listen to. No cassettes anymore. It's kind of gone by the wayside. And so the procedures. Now you'll notice we starting out with procedure number 1. And in this case, you turn the pages and you find out that in this case we have 12 procedures, and it covers a few pages there that you can look at. In fact, when you're looking at the pages, you will see on Lesson Plan 5, page H, you'll see the little smiley face and the little house picture letting you know that you can assign that for homework or what have you. Okay, so getting back to the first procedure. It says, allow students to complete the Chapter 5 student pre-assessment form found on page 179 prior to beginning this lesson, which it's there, of course, and you could do that. Be honest with yourself if you do it. And then procedure number 1, review the previous lesson, leadership and your character, by asking students the following questions. Now I'm going to actually ask the questions that are in here, but a lot of times the following class, like we just finished with what I have learned and went over the chapter, and a lot of times the class that comes after that is like a week away or something, and so you do want to go back over things just to kind of get it back in everybody's mind. So review the previous lesson, leadership and your character, by asking students the following questions. Why is having a positive character an important part of leadership? Why is having a positive character an important part of leadership? So think about it a moment. You don't have to raise your hand or nothing like that. Just think about it a minute. And for those of you that have a teacher's manual, you'll see there's some suggested answers there that you could look at, but to help initiate things if you like. But we talked a little bit about it. Leaders that are immoral, they're out for themselves. They're out to see how much they can get, how many sports cars and luxury cars they can get, how many luxury houses they can get on the French Riviera, Malibu Beach in California, Hawaii, wherever, seeing what they can amass and what materialistic things they can amass and how they can get people to serve them and so forth. And they don't care about people. They don't care that they're starving. They don't care that they have no jobs. It's horrible. But they haven't been taught. What they were taught is what they're doing. They saw the leaders that did that before them, and now they're in power and they're doing it too, So, what are some of the traits of a positive leader? Well, positive leaders are compassionate, respectful, patient, decisive, courageous, and responsible. And of course, you'll hear different things. You'll hear Democrats saying that their president is all of these things, and you'll hear Republicans saying their president is all these things, and you'll hear each of those parties saying that the other party is not that, that the other party is stealing from everyone and trying to ruin their lives and take your rights away and all that. I mean, it's just a constant thing. And this is how it's been all down through history, all of society. I just read you this, for those of you that just got here. I don't know if everybody heard it or not. Excuse me. But we were talking about, the government leaders and so forth, and here's somebody that was kind of protesting what was being done. And they said the budget should be balanced, the treasury should be refilled, public debt should be reduced, and the arrogance of the officials, it should be tempered and controlled, and the assistance to foreign lands is out of control. It needs to be curtailed or we'll be bankrupt. People must again learn to work instead of living on public assistance. That was from Cicero in Rome in 55 BC. So it's not something new. For those of you that just walked in, I saw a few of you come in. All right, so this is what we're talking about, how society is affected through a positive or a negative character by the leaders. Not only the leaders, but all the public, all society. It says to guide class feedback by asking students the following questions. Have you ever dropped a pebble into a still body of water? Have you? Okay. Well, what does it do? The ripple effect, right? It has a ripple that just keeps on going, and depending upon how big that stone was that you dropped in there, it might go quite a ways. Well, and it actually does. If you could see, if you could see how small that ripple gets, you would see that it carries on for a very long ways. But most of us drop something in the water and we can see it, maybe 10, 20, 30 feet, maybe a little bit more out there before it kind of dissipates. But so the question is, what occurred? And as some of you said, the ripple, and of course it talks about concentric circles and how they expand and so forth. And this is what it does in society too. It just keeps on going. It's not just the stone drops in the water and that's it. It's not just the act of violence or the disrespect. It occurs one time and it's over with. No, that's not what takes place. It continues on. What about the man that is gossiped about at work and loses his job and he just can't handle it and hadn't been taught how to handle it, and he goes home and kills himself, and then the family suffers, and the family would be suffering anyway if he lost his job, but it just keeps on going. It doesn't stop. And then the woman that the mom, then she doesn't know what to do, and has to raise single mom raising children by herself, and then the children, they grow up, and this is something that's been on their mind all their life. I know I'm not the only one here that lost a parent at a very young age. I know several of you did. And the effects that it had on us, all of our lives, if you think back. And in my case, it was a drunk driver that ran over my father, And so here's someone that made a bad decision, a young man that made a bad decision, and that bad decision, he was just out having fun, and it took a life. And then that ripple just kept on going. And it's still going. I haven't forgotten about it. It's affected me, as similar situations have affected everybody in here. What about divorce? Divorce, same thing. What about leaders that were that did not have a great moral character? What about a sheriff's department? What about the sheriff of that department? Has anyone ever in here ever had some type of being railroaded out of town, so to speak, or being attacked by law enforcement for no reason? And so these are leaders in society that should be there to help, protect and serve, like they say, and so forth. And a lot of them do, and a lot want to, but then there's others that don't, and they haven't been taught properly. And so start thinking about how it's affected you in your life, and then we can know how it affects everybody else when we do something. I don't know. I can't even possibly think about all the horrible things I've done in my life growing up, and where the ripple stopped, if it ever did. I don't know. Have you ever thought about that? Think about something that you did. And don't get too far into it. We know we have to have room to grow, right? And we know that we're learning different now. And if we could go back and change things, we would, right? But think about the times that you were in a leadership position. Maybe you were the supervisor or the owner of a company, or might be you were class president or something, or might be someone in here was a city council or a governor or mayor or whatever. I think if any of you were president, I would probably recognize you. But so anyways, though, there are people in this room right now that have had leadership positions. Were you a great leader or were you not? Was it after you started learning the peaceful solution, or was it before? So we have the opportunity to think back and try to really understand this. All right, does anyone know what this phenomena is called? And of course, we've already spilled the beans, or spilled the ripples, spilled the rocks. It's called the ripple effect, right? All right. Well, in today's lesson, we're going to explore how human behavior also causes a ripple effect. We've been doing a little of that exploring already. And explain that the outcome of both moral and immoral choices can ripple outward, affecting one's family, community, and our society at large. They will also explore the role of character in relation to the way nations interact. And, we want to explain along the way that antagonistic and violent interactions between nations can ripple outward and eventually affect the entire world. Okay, so what's the most common one in today's in the news today? Well, there's a couple of them. There's Ukraine and Russia, but what's the one we've heard about for so many years that just seems to never go away? I mean, they're even talking about just leveling the place and building it over again. But, the Palestinians, right? The Gaza. And so this has been taking place for a very, very, very long time. And I'm not putting any blame on anybody here. I'm just saying here's something that has taken place for a very long time, and it's been on people's minds. It's been in the forefront of the news all this time. So there's a ripple effect, how this is affecting many, all of society, you could say, because it does have an effect on how other nations are thinking about it and what to do, and the effect that it has on their own citizens. I mean, we're talking about, look at Jordan has taken in a lot of refugees, and great for them that they did that. They've taken in a lot. In fact, most of their population now, I believe, has come from the Palestinians that they did allow to come in. And so they've really done a pretty great part, it would seem, on the outside from what I know about it. I don't know too much in depth about it, but that seems to be a pretty great thing. And I think they're talking about even helping more at this point, see? So is that affecting, though, the citizens in that country? Of course it is. The money's being put out. What could it be put out on otherwise? But it is a great thing because people are people, and everyone has a purpose, and everyone has a benefit to society. And so when people go to another society, they can have a benefit to that particular community or state or country also. Unless they're going there specifically to do evil and to spread their gangs and so forth like that, There's some of that goes on too. All right, so I didn't want to get too deep in that. I just wanted to point out something that we all hear about like every day if you're watching the news. This is on there every day, all the time. It affects all of society. So explain that antagonistic and violent interactions between nations can ripple outward and eventually affect the entire world. And it has, and that's an example. So as the teacher, you want to come up with some of these things. It's not a problem to use articles to pinpoint what's going around in the world today. If you have access to the articles and you have the proper clearances, you could even get some videos and stuff up there. But you got to be careful today because, there's a lot of copyrights out there on stuff, and so you have to be really aware of what you're doing. All right, well, in procedure number 3, It says to have students turn to pages 181 and 183 in their handbooks and read the sections entitled, excuse me, that's not the title, introduction. Read the sections entitled Introduction and One Thing Leads to Another. Draw your students' attention to the article on the Washington sniper as an example of how one person's behavior can affect others. Ask students for examples in history of a ripple effect or fear or violence because of the choices of one or more persons. You know, I think that's evident in society today. Does anyone not have a lock on their front door? Does anyone, I mean, whether it works or not or what, is there anyone sitting in this room that does not have a lock on their front door? Okay, I see a couple people that raised their hands. All right, I'm not going to show you who they were, though, but well, you got to be careful. I mean, you have to be careful. We all know that you have to be careful. You wouldn't want to advertise to everybody that you have no lock on your front door so that when you go to work or something, they can go raid your house, something like that. I do know of a man that went to a particular meeting. I think, it was a peaceful solution meeting that he went to, and he was gone for about a week. And, you know, on Facebook, he told everybody where he was going. You know, he wanted everyone to know and invited people along. Well, the sad thing is that the criminals saw, and they watch Facebook and the obituaries and articles all the time to see when they can find somebody not at home for any length of time so they can go raid the house and rob the people, you know. And that's what occurred to this man. I knew him personally, and that's exactly what occurred. Some of you knew him too. But anyway, this is what takes place. The ripple effect. We all have locks on our doors for the most part because we know we have to keep our door locked. Otherwise, somebody's going to go in there. You know, you can't really say it keeps the honest person out. An honest person wouldn't go in. But you can say that it might deter the dishonest one a little bit, you know. If they really want in, they're going to get in. Okay. Other examples include the bombing of the federal building in Oklahoma, the destruction of the Twin Towers in New York on September 11th, and stress that because of our interdependence, choices we make will affect others. Let's go on over to page 181 in your teacher's manual. And you'll notice right there on page 179 the student pre-assessment that you can do. You know what? Turn back over to page 179 real quick, and let's just look at a couple of those questions because they are interesting. So look at question number 1. The term ripple effect can be used to describe what occurs when you drop a pebble into a still body of water and the effect that human behavior has on others. Of course, it's both A and B. Number 2, underage alcohol abuse has become a serious problem that can have serious results. True or false? True. Number 3, which age group is more likely to ride with an intoxicated driver and drive after using alcohol or drugs? And then number 4, teens who abuse alcohol are 5 times more likely to drop out of high school than those who do not. True or false? Children who are born to unwed teen mothers are more likely to be emotionally and or physically abused. True or false? Negative character traits such as greed, deceit, and dishonesty can have a negative effect upon society. And violence and wars can cease on a worldwide scale if nations regard each other with respect, compassion, and tolerance. Yes, and that is true. Not that we've seen it. I mean, I haven't seen it in my lifetime. There's always been war since I've been alive. And I'm looking around in here, and there's always been war since each and every one of you were alive. We've never had true peace in our lives. None of us. You know, you might have had a little bit of peace out on the farm somewhere, and you know, when you felt like nothing could really harm you out there, but you really never really have peace as you grow older and you find that the IRS could come take your land from you, or, you know, if they're building a highway through your land, they can take it by eminent domain and just take it and not even give you anything for it if they don't want to. Or you find that any number of things that can take place where you really can't have peace because there's always that fear of something taking place, okay? All right, let's go to page 181. The quote at the top of the page says, we can change the we can change the character of society one individual at a time. And this is the peaceful solution. Chapter 5, Character, Society, and the World, and this is the introduction to this chapter. Now, the introduction gives us the layout of what's going to take place here in the chapter. Of course, we already had the note to the teacher telling us what's kind of expected of us. And now this is for everybody, student and everyone, the introduction. Have you ever considered how many people you interact with on a daily basis and how many interact with you? Have you? I mean, think about it. I was thinking about, as this lesson, I've been thinking about it since the last class, and I was watching the news, and I got very sad. The things I saw, not that I hadn't seen them before, but the things that I saw, it just really saddened me. I mean, I was very emotional looking at that and thinking, how can people treat each other this way? Of course, I've asked that before, and I've seen it before, but it just never loses the impact, really. How can they treat each other this way? There's no shortage of it. You can turn on any news channel. You can take a phone and look at any of the news articles, and we have some news that's put out by the Peaceful Solution too, and you can look at these things, and I'll tell you, there's no shortage of it at all. Anybody that's not hurt, by these things, I just don't even know how. I don't think anybody here that's learning the Peaceful Solution could take part in these things, the sad things that I saw taking place. But all right, well, did you talk to anyone on the way to school, in the hallway, or in your classes, or on the way to work, or whatever? Did you talk to anyone? Talking is only one form of interaction. You might have nodded your head, looked at someone, and smiled. How did your interactions affect them? How did theirs affect you? Something that I've realized is I find it very joyful when I'm just walking along and people pass and say, "Hey, hello, David," and we all like hearing our name, don't we? I mean, that's one of the first things you learn in sales is the minute you can find out their name and start using it, that's a great start right there. And so we all, when we hear our name, we tend to take it a little more personally. Like, how many times do you hear, "Hey, how you doing? How you doing, buddy? How you doing? How you doing?" Well, if you stop and start telling somebody how you're doing, they're probably going to try to get away from you. So, do they really want to know how you're doing? So a lot of people just say peace or, hello and that type thing, But it's still great to interact. I think people need interaction. And so anytime you can, feel free to interact with, when you guys are even leaving here, hello, hello, mention someone's name to them. Hi, peace. Okay. So anyway, you might have nodded your head, looked at someone and smiled. How did your interactions affect them, and how do theirs affect you? Not only are we constantly interacting with others, but we also depend on and need each other for many things. Let me say something about that for a minute, about what I was talking about. Just because someone doesn't say hello or, smile and say, "Well, hello, David," just because they don't take it too harshly, because, we got things going on. Everybody has things going on. And especially if you're a student of the Peaceful Solution. Man, you're thinking about what you just did and what you just said to somebody else, and man, I can't believe that. I bumped right up against him and knocked his food. I mean, you got all these things going on in your mind of things you did and things you're trying to correct and everything, and you might not even really you might not even really notice. Not that you don't mean to. So don't judge a person too harshly just because they didn't say hi to you when you said hi, okay? I mean, I don't mean for that to take place. That's not what I was getting at. I was just saying, when you can, just do. Make someone's day, Not only are we constantly interacting with others, but we also depend on and need each other for many things. You depend on your parents, guardians, etc., to care for your needs, and they depend on you to be respectful, helpful, and to mature into a productive adult. You depend on your friends to be trustworthy and caring, and they depend on you to reciprocate those same feelings. You want to know that, when your friends are around, you don't have to lock your door. When your friends are around, you shouldn't have to lock your car to keep them out of it. When your friends are around, you shouldn't have to worry about picking up your wallet if you laid it down on the counter at your own house or something. I don't recommend you go to someone else's house and start emptying your pockets, You might not get the right result, but they might think, what's this guy doing, moving in? So just be aware that when we're around friends, people we can call friends, there should be a certain amount of trust that's been earned, that we have amongst each other. I know most of you in this room fair, some of you pretty well, and I really, I have certain trust in certain areas. Anybody who's ever asked me probably knows that I don't really loan my car out to anyone, if they come and, I keep one around that I could possibly do that with, but as far as like my own personal car, it's rare that I would loan it to somebody. It would have to be somebody that I trust immensely, that they know how to treat the item the way I would treat it, the truck or car or whatever, how I would treat it. And I would have to really feel very, there's family members I wouldn't loan my truck to, I don't know what they're going to go out and do. They might get involved in something and then the police come looking for me, those things occur, right? So, you got to be careful what you do. I'm not saying just to go out and have this blanket, give everybody everything. That's not the deal. Okay. So, but you do depend on your friends to be trustworthy and caring. And this is the middle of page 181 in our Building Moral Excellence book. You depend on that. And you depend on them to reciprocate, to have the same feelings. And they depend on you. You depend not only on your friends and family, but also on people you don't even know personally. For example, you depend on a bus driver to be punctual. You want him to get to that bus stop at the right time, right? To get you to where you're going to go, right? And if he doesn't show up on time, hey, that's kind of messing up your day, isn't it? So you expect him to. Well, what right do you have to expect him to be there? Well, it's his job, right? It's what he agreed to. He agreed to get that bus there at a certain time or within a certain time frame and to help those that need a ride on that bus, right? So you expect it. You kind of trust him to do his job, and people trust you to do your job, don't they? If your job is, fixing a roof, then they expect you to fix that roof, right? If your job is mechanicking on a car, then they expect you to fix their car. If your job is to pick tomatoes, then, the person you work for expects you to pick tomatoes. He expects to have a bunch of tomatoes out there that send to market. So things are expected. And so we want people that we can trust. We want people that have that same level of, respect and care and concern and self-control and honesty, all these things, right? All right, so anyway, that, you depend on the bus driver, you depend on the supermarkets and stores to have the products you need, and that's just to name a few. The process of interacting and mutually needing others is called interdependence, which we talked about at the very beginning. That interdependence, we all depend on one another. That's one of the things that the author of The Peaceful Solution was very great about, is teaching people to depend on one another, that you can't go do it all yourself. I mean, you could try. Some people think they can. Some people try. Some people think they can do it all, and you can't. You just can't. You might be able to do more than one thing. So maybe some others can't. It doesn't matter. Everyone does what they're capable of doing. So, I mean, I've heard of people that have 2 or 3 jobs, and I thought to myself, man, even when I was that guy's age, how young he is, I don't remember being able to do all that. And I mean, of course, I had a job that I had to work 12 or 16 hours most days, so I really didn't have any thought of going and getting another job to go to after that. You know what I mean? So, but some people do. Some people have like 3 jobs. It's just unbelievable. But whether you're aware of it or not, we depend on and need others within our society far more than we realize. We need others to provide us with the products. You go to your sink and turn the handle on the sink, you expect water to come out, right? Well, are you like outside, or do you have a foot pedal down there at your foot pumping it, as you're turning it? Some do, but if you don't, then you're expecting somebody else to be doing a job supplying that water that's coming through the pipes to your sink, and you turn that, right? Same thing with the toilet, same thing with the electricity. Now, some people have their own electricity plant at their house, or solar panels, or whatever, and so they have an idea of how that's getting there. But for most people, like that even live nearby here, most people don't have that, and what they expect is that somebody is working at the power plant and keeping that electricity coming to their house so they can charge their phones, so they can turn on the lights, so they can watch the news, so they can, have a smoothie or whatever, so they have a refrigerator or can wash their clothes or whatever. You name it. We expect that from others. We expect those things. We expect somebody to pave the road, to cut the trees back away from the power lines so that they don't fall down. I mean, we expect that. There's people that do that, and we expect it to be done, right? Anyway, we are all interdependent upon one another, and that's something to remember about this particular chapter, this chapter 5, character, society, and the world, okay? Think about those things a little bit, and I encourage you to think about the things that we do and not just have done, and don't get too carried away. Don't kick yourself too much, but think about the things you do now, today, as a student or teacher of the Peaceful Solution. Think about the things you do that has an effect on other people. That will prepare us for the rest of what we're getting into in this great book, Building Moral Excellence. It'll prepare us for that. And then also it'll prepare us for the next book that's coming up after this, because we are getting close to the end here. And I encourage everybody to keep on learning. Now, I have a couple announcements here. For those of you that weren't here right at the very beginning, stick around. We're going to have a few pictures that we'd like to have. We do have a one-day event coming up with the Peaceful Solution. And everybody's encouraged to come, even those of you online there. You can probably find out more about it. But we're going to have a few pictures this evening. So you guys stick around a little bit, if you will. It won't take very long. And then next class is going to be on 2/19/2025. That is this coming, excuse me, that's this coming, man, that's the... That's this coming Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. We look forward for everybody to be here again, and please come. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you. Stick around for the pictures, okay?